I'd like to call to order the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners workshop meeting for January 10, 2018. Roll call.
President Zipfel.
Here.
Vice President Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Andrus.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
I'd like to ask Bud Hyman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, if he would. One of the reasons I asked Bud to lead us in the pledge was because not only is he a longstanding resident that has been a part of our community, a stellar member of our community, but unfortunately one of his dear friends, Stan Schwartz, who was just here 3 weeks ago, giving the township a donation from the Senior Softball League, passed away. And he was a great friend of Hatfield as well, especially at Senior Softball League. And it's such a shame that not only has that happened, but we really all just saw him 3 weeks ago, and this sad news. So in his honor, if we would, we'd just take a moment, and if we could, stand and have a moment of silence in Stan's honor. Thank you. And Bud, thank you again, and please pass on to the family our best. All right, do we have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Rogers. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments on agenda items this evening? All right, seeing no one run up to the podium, we're going to work on some of our housekeeping items. The first one is our consent items. Is there a motion to enter into the record the consent items that are listed in your agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Vice President Hughes.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rogers. Those items to be moved into the record include the engineer's report for the month of January, the police report for the month of January, and the HTMA meeting minutes of November 14, 2018. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor of moving those into the record, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, those are moved into the record. All right, our first, I guess, action item tonight, probably our only action item tonight, is a public hearing with regard to a liquor license transfer request. And I'm going to hand this over to our solicitor, Mr. Iannozzi, and if you would lead us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I will suspend the public meeting, proceed into a public hearing, and mark the following exhibits. B1 is a application letter dated December 14th. B2 is a legal notice. B3 is a letter to the reporter dated December 19th, 2017. B5 will be a proof of publication for December 27th and January 3rd. At this time, I will move them into the record. And the hearing tonight will have the applicant present their case. Then we'll have the board and staff have an opportunity to ask questions, and then the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. The board will not make a decision tonight. They will be rendering a decision at their January 24th meeting. Without further ado, Ms. Freeman, do you have your witness? You want to come forward and be sworn in? I'll have you at the podium and have your witness come forward to be sworn in. So.
Colin, will you raise your right hand? Sure. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so I'll be done.
Ms. Freeman, before you begin, do you have any exhibits you want to mark for the record?
I do. I have one exhibit this evening. It is the floor plans for the proposed restaurant. We will label them as A1, and I think they will be behind me, but I also have hard copies for the council members, so I will quickly pass those out.
Yeah, I will enter that into the record as A1.
Thank you. This is
Thank you. John, you're okay?
Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Ellen Freeman. I'm an attorney with the law firm Flaherty and O'Hara, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Giant Food Stores, and also with me is Colin Heap. He is the manager of special projects at Giant Food Stores, and a little later on in my presentation, I'm going to have him answer some questions about Giant Food Store safety policies and procedures, and go into a little bit more in depth of what their policies are at their other restaurants in Pennsylvania. And we are here tonight to request that Hatfield Township approve a resolution that would permit the intermunicipal transfer of a restaurant liquor license from outside of the township to within it. And that's pursuant to Section 461B3 of the Liquor Code. And that particular section mandates that a public hearing for the purpose of receiving comments and recommendations of interested individuals residing within the municipality concerning Giant's intentions to operate a liquor license within this municipality. There is a standard that must be applied by the Board of Commissioners this evening, or maybe not this evening, but later on when they're making the decision on the request for Giant Food Stores. And that's contained in Section 7.61 of the Liquor Control Board's regulations. And it states that the receiving municipality shall approve the transfer unless it finds that doing so would adversely affect the health, welfare, peace, and morals of the municipality. It's my understanding that this would be the first actual grocery store in the township that would contain a restaurant within it that would be operating a liquor license. It has been a national trend for a number of years that grocery stores are able to sell beer and wine. And about a decade ago, the Pennsylvania legislature finally came on board with that when it first started to approve the transfer of liquor licenses into grocery stores. And now just recently with Act 39, it became solidified in the law that grocery stores were permitted to have liquor licenses transferred to them in order to operate a restaurant within their grocery store. In fact, there are nearly 350 grocery stores that operate restaurants out of them in Pennsylvania. Giant Food Stores itself operates 58 of those in Pennsylvania, as well as a number in other states as well. And the closest Giant Food Stores, if you're familiar with the Giant Food Stores in the area, is the North Wales store, and they've been operating for 5 years with a liquor license. It is new in Pennsylvania that the legislature has finally acknowledged a changing times and modern times. The legislature restated the purpose of the liquor code in 2016, and I think it's important just to read a small blurb from what they changed the liquor code to say. Act 39 states as follows: "It is the purpose of this act to reform the system by which alcohol is dispensed and controlled within this Commonwealth, to reflect changes in the marketplace, and provide for the operation of a retail system that promotes competition and convenience, to ensure that the residents of this Commonwealth purchase their products within the Commonwealth." And Giant Food Stores is a prime example of the Pennsylvania legislature's intentions to provide consumers with a safe and alternative way to purchase their alcohol products within the Commonwealth. Now, to get to the Giant Food Stores in Hatfield Township and their plans, you do have the proposed floor plan in front of you, and what you're looking at is the larger floor plan depicts the entire grocery store, and you can see up in the top right where the gray area is, that is what would be considered licensed by the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. And on the second floor plan, that's an enlarged version of what the proposed restaurant would look like. In the proposed restaurant, there would be seating for up to 30 patrons at a time, and the restaurant will feature a wide selection of food that consumers can either buy to dine in or to take home with them. Much of the same options that you've seen today in the Giant Food Stores. There will be sushi, made-to-order sandwiches. There's a hot entree bar, which will have various entrees that a consumer can buy and dine in the cafe area. And as an added component to this restaurant, Giant Food Stores is requesting the transfer of a liquor license in order to sell beer for on-premises consumption and to go, and wine to go. The hours of operation, just for that small section that's in front of you, would be Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Those are the only hours where alcohol sales can take place at the Giant Food Stores. Giant will be fully RAMP certified, and if you're not familiar with what RAMP is, that's the Responsible Alcohol Management Program, which was developed by the Pennsylvania Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement, and it teaches sales associates and the managers there how to handle alcohol in a safe manner so that they don't sell to visibly intoxicated persons, and that they know how to spot a fake ID so that they don't sell to minors. And as a component of being fully RAMP certified with the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, Giant will have a dedicated restaurant manager, and that individual will go through the RAMP manager training. And then all cafe associates, anyone who works within that gray area, must go through the RAMP server training. So anyone who works there will have had not only the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board's training, but also will be trained in Giant's policies on top of that. All sales associates by law must be 18 years of age, and Giant follows that law. And so any sales associate that works within that store will be 18 years or older. There is a 100% carding policy at all Giant food stores, and that will be in place at this restaurant. So no matter what your age is, if you wish to purchase alcohol at the Giant food stores, you're going to be carded by one of the associates. Giant will be serving single servings of beer for on-premises consumption, and up to 192 fluid ounces of beer to go, which is roughly 2 6-packs, and they will offer 3,000 milliliters of wine to go, which is roughly 4 standard bottles of wine in one single transaction to a consumer. Giant has a self-imposed 2-beer limit for on-premises consumption. And in addition to that limit, they also have a policy in place where if a consumer wishes to purchase a beverage to drink on premises, they must also order a meal item to sit and dine in and have a true restaurant experience. We didn't bring any figures with us this evening. However, the predominant amount of their sales in that licensed area is a takeout business. They see a few individuals coming to drink on premises, and there's a few reasons for that. There are no draft beers. It's all in cans or bottles that you can pick up. So there's no draft beer, there's no happy hours, there are no advertisements that say that you can drink inside of the Giant. So a little bit of it is that consumer knowledge, they're just not aware that they can do it. There's no entertainment that would keep somebody on the premises for that long. There are no video games, no pool tables, no TVs, really no additional forms of entertainment. There's no sales of distilled spirits of any kind, so there's no mixed drinks. They can't sell that to go, so really Giant won't be ordering that at all. It will just be beer and wine. A very small percentage is the on-premises consumption, and the Giant food stores employees are trained in the policies that Giant has, so they're trained in how to watch a consumer. If the consumer does order a beverage to drink on premises with a meal, since it happens so rarely, an associate is keyed into that individual to make sure that they're following their own policies, that that individual can only have 2 beers for on-premises consumption. All of the beer and wine purchases must be made on that licensed premises. The beer and wine SKUs will only scan at the one register that is located within that licensed premises. Any other cash register throughout the grocery store will not be able to scan those beer or wine SKUs. So even if there was a scenario where someone was able to put the beer into their cart and manage to get to another register without being stopped by one of the associates, the cash register at that particular register would not be able to scan it, and they would be sent back to the licensed premises in order to purchase their product. In the restaurant, there will be security cameras that monitor not only the product that's within the aisle, but the designated register that's on premises, as well as the associates and the manager will be there to physically monitor the area while it is open. So at this time, I will ask Colin a few questions. First, Colin, you've been in the room this evening as I've provided the testimony to the Board of Commissioners. Do you affirm that the testimony that I've just given is an accurate representation of Giant Food Store's policies, and do you accept the testimony as your own?
Yes.
Great. Could you tell and you can come closer to the mic so everyone can hear you. Can you tell the Board of Commissioners when construction would approximately begin at this location and when it would be complete?
This construction of the beer garden is scheduled as part of a remodel project that's currently slated to start in July.
Great. And Will the restaurant somehow be delineated from the rest of the grocery store, and how does that fit into Giant's formats of showing consumers where the licensed premises is versus where the grocery store is?
Right, so we'll use a series of bollards or permanent fixtures to delineate the licensed area so that the entire perimeter that's shaded on your floor plan will be set off from the rest of the store through the use of those fixtures and bollards. The bollards will be at least 4 feet tall and no more than 10 feet apart.
And can consumers still, when the licensed premises is closed, there's no alcohol sales, can they still get through to the other side of the grocery store, or do they have to go all the way around?
Yes, the area will be maximized for convenience. Customers are still able to pass through the licensed premises to do their grocery shopping. It's a very fluid format so that customers don't have to reroute or go around the licensed area. When the licensed area gets to closing time, we have locks on each of the doors so that each of the cold doors will be locked at that point, and the chain will go across the aisle itself. But that is the beer and wine aisle, so all the food offerings within the entire store are still available to our customers.
About Giant's carding policy.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's very simple. We card everyone, so it just eliminates guesswork, allows our associates to have one very simple policy to follow, and we do extensive training to reinforce that policy. We also have technology aiding us, so we'll use an electronic scanner for the ID that the customer would present. Every one of those IDs is scanned, so we would identify any invalid IDs at that point, and it would not be up to the.
And those policies that you mentioned there and the policies that I mentioned in my testimony, are those the same policies and procedures that Giant has in place at the 58 other restaurants that are currently operating a liquor license in Pennsylvania?
Yes, absolutely.
And have any of those restaurants in Pennsylvania ever been cited by the Liquor Control Board by a sales to a minor, sales to intoxicated persons, or any other violation of the liquor code?
No, we have a perfect record.
Great, thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to your solicitor for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board at this time?
The gray area, is that whole area licensed, or is there a separate area that's licensed?
No, the gray area. Areas that are off the sales floor that are mostly in what is today our deli and carryout. Left there is the beer storage area.
Then how are you going to close off the area that's selling the beer and wine after hours when the rest of the store is open?
The majority of our product is in the front of that. We'll be able to be off at the front and also off at the back of that aisle. And that is where all of the cold beer is and the chain. The rest of the licensed area, as you mentioned, is
Okay, so if you're at the salad bar, you'd be able to walk over to the cheese bar after the license there, well, the bar area is closed.
yes,
Okay.
Say there was, how many is there seating for? 30 people?
That's correct.
Most of what you're intending, or what's going to happen here is there's going to be takeout. It'll be beer to go, right?
That's correct.
that's what we find.
Is 30 seats the required minimum from a restaurant standard?
That's correct. It's required by law that they have at least 30 seats.
Not anticipating many of those be filled up then? Okay. So largely the premises is takeout.
Seats 30, is there an expectation that this is going to be a waitered area?
No, there is no wait staff. Giant doesn't employ anyone to do wait staff. Anyone who wishes to dine in or purchase a beer to go will have to purchase it at the designated register, which there will be signage that says, you know, this is the register to use, and then they're welcome to seat themselves.
Training that you mentioned earlier that I think that is that training, you're the representative for that store in that training, or or do you work at other stores as well?
Well, I have the entire company, from a project management standpoint with beer and wine. I have a compliance officer, also has the entire company, but he would training as it goes through the PLC, house policies, and Scott Shaver.
So if I follow what you're saying, at all times during the time that this area is open, there's going to be at least one person who has been trained in this area, whether it's one of the individuals you just identified or one of your staff who's been trained. About signage, what kind of signage will be inside and even outside, if required, that will tell the public as to, what they can expect and what their obligations are?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of signage. Obviously, the age restriction, about 2 beers to be consumed on premises. No bottles to be outside the licensed premises.
You mean too, is there going to be any advertisements of beer and wine on like the outdoor when they're coming in that?
Well, you had mentioned earlier, and I'm assuming that you said this, you said it briefly, but I thought it was rather succinctly. You said that there's no advertisement of
Oh, I'm
this.
sorry. There's no advertisement, there's no happy
Oh,
hours.
yes,
So I see
yeah.
what you're saying now.
There's no, I guess you would say, marketing of the ability to consume.
Right.
Exactly.
All of our signage is really legal and regular. All beer and wine purchases must be made at the garden register. Those sort of things we would definitely have.
Assuming, I know this might be delving into the minutia, but if you are an employee here, you can't sell yourself the alcohol. The beer cooler, is that a walk-in for the public, or is that for the staff? Okay, is there an area like that when you would get, go into a distributor, you walk into, you can buy not cold, or you can buy cold? Is there going to be a cold area?
Yeah, there's not a walk-in area. All of the cold beer would be in the doors.
Okay, and it's all self-serve?
It's all self-
And roughly 2 6-packs is a maximum?
Oh, you can only sell up to 192 fluid ounces, which is roughly 2 6-packs, but if they had a different ounce, then it's calculated by the register.
And am I following right? Is there no wine, there's only wine to go, not wine on site to drink?
That's correct.
And the maximum is roughly going to be about 4 bottles?
Right, 4 standard bottles.
Standard
yeah.
bottles. Okay.
Said
Anybody
that the North Wales store is operating a cafe for the last 5 years, and that's been successful.
Oh, yes. We actually have 7 now that are open in Montgomery.
Now, I understand Souderton also is selling liquor. Do they have the cafe as well?
Souderton is...
Souderton. I can't say off the top of my head whether they are or not. I do have a map here, though.
I think they're on our list for this year.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
What township is that? Souderton, that doesn't sound familiar to me, but.
Is it Hilltown?
Hilltown, yes, then yes.
Okay.
You do have a
All right,
liquor
yeah,
license in
yeah.
Hilltown.
Okay. And is that being operated as a cafe as this one would?
Yes.
Okay.
Their formats pretty much across the board are all the same. Some of their earlier stores, you'll see them at the front of the grocery store, and that was just due to a liquor code regulation that they had to have a separate entrance into the store. The LCB ended up doing away with that, and that gave grocery stores and other licensees the opportunity to move their beer and wine back into their deli.
Okay, any other questions from the board at this time?
What's preventing someone from buying 2 6-packs, walking out, putting them in the car, and coming back and buying another 2 6-packs?
Nothing.
Nothing other than,
And that's permitted per the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, they've now come out with an advisory opinion that it used to be very unsure of what could happen. Could they just put it in their cart and then get 2 more in a different transaction? But the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board has just come out and said that a consumer, if they wish to buy more than 2 six-packs, have to go all the way back out to their car and come all the way back in to purchase more.
One final question. I usually buy my potatoes on this aisle. Where am I going to find those now? Just kidding.
Well, there will be some changes to accommodate the beer garden, yes.
Really?
Put that on the record.
So the record is clear, there's no mixed drinks being served? And
There's no mixed drinks, no spirits of any sort.
no alcohol beverages will be consumed outside?
That's correct. No alcohol beverages outside.
This time we'll take questions from the public. Are there any questions from the public at this time? Yes, sir, can you please state your name for the record and address?
So I'm not sure if Giant has had communications with them at all. I know that their landlord permits them to have a liquor license and have more than 1 liquor license in the complex. And what we've found over the years is that beer distributors actually have not been going out of business when a grocery store is able to sell. In fact, because of the limitations that grocery stores have under a restaurant liquor license, with only being able to sell 2 six-packs to go, they've found that if a consumer wants to try out a craft beer, they only want to try 1, and then they go over to the distributor and buy a 30 rack of it, because that's when they can buy the larger produce. It also came out recently that the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board allows beer distributors to sell in smaller quantities to help them keep a competitive edge for a restaurant liquor license. No, they can sell a single beer.
Okay, are there any other questions at the public at this time?
That is a good question. You do not earn your bonus reward points. Alcohol is similar to
Incentive to drink too much. That's really the legal reason why you can't do it. It's really, we've found it consumer demand. Giant has done studies through their rewards program to see what consumers really wanted to see, and they wanted to see more amenities. They wanted pharmacies, and they wanted flower shops, and they wanted more that they could buy along with their groceries, and they found that beer and wine was a high amenity that consumers wanted to see. And it's done so successfully at other stores, they wanted to bring that to their store here in Hatfield.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing, proceed back into the public meeting, and the Board of Commissioners will render a decision at their January 24th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So for those of you who, following that, what that means is for over the next 2 weeks, we are available, not only the commissioners, but also the staff, to contact us, to give us your opinion with regard to the testimony and the evidence that you just heard. And our standard typical process in Hatfield is that we hold the hearing, and then 2 weeks later at our next scheduled meeting, whenever that is, which is what, January 24th?
That is correct.
We would make a determination. Prior to making a decision, we will open up the floor for any other citizens' comments on the testimony of the evidence before we render a decision. So feel free to contact us, and maybe that's an incentive for people to attend our meeting on January 24th, get a larger crowd. So thank you very much for coming out. We appreciate it. All right. Anything else on that, Mr. Solicitor? All right, then we're going to jump into committee reports, which is Commissioner Rogers first with Planning and Zoning Committee.
We have nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, moving right along, Public Works Committee, Vice President Hughes.
The only thing I have is in your packet is a reimbursement agreement for the Route 463 traffic signal synchronization, which is upcoming, and we got a grant for that, and I guess Aaron has to sign the paperwork.
That's pretty much it, Commissioner Hughes. We could probably leave it at that, but just to provide a little more of an update for the commissioners.
You did.
So just provide a little bit more of an update on this project. I know it's important to the community. This is regarding synchronizing all of the traffic signals on the Route 463 corridor here in Hatfield, from 40 Foot at Welsh all the way to Line Street and Cowpath, which we all know that there's some issues there regarding some of the congestion. 2016, as you all know, the township received a grant for over $900,000. It was a joint application with Hatfield Borough, since a portion of that corridor does run through the borough as well. So we have gone through what I'm told roughly is 60% of the process. The majority of the engineering, the planning and design has been completed. We are now to the position where we're going to go toward construction, which is why we're going to enter into this agreement so the township can be reimbursed per the grant. Talking to the traffic engineer today, I'm told that the safety review was approved in November, and now the traffic unit at PennDOT has the design that McMahon has done for this corridor and is currently under review as of right before Christmas. So we're going to move forward. This is just a housekeeping item, but it's a good reminder to talk about this project publicly, to make sure everyone's aware of all the efforts that the township has made over the years to hopefully address a concern and make traffic move more efficiently along this corridor. We're still expecting, we said, since we received the grant in 16, we've always sort of have been heading toward a fall of 18 completion for when we'll actually see these signals synchronize and traffic move more efficiently. We're still on pace to see that, I was told as of just earlier today. So I'll keep everyone updated as we go, but this action tonight is nothing, but there's an agreement in the packet for your review. In 2 weeks, there will be the same agreement for the board to consider, and obviously this helps offset almost $1 million worth of taxpayer money toward this very important project. The township will pay the lion's share of the local portion, but the borough will pay the portion based on the amount of, I think there's 2 signals in the borough, so a little under 20% the borough will share that local match. All I have, Mr. President.
Question, I'm sure that you've already got it, but the new light at Lenart is included in this?
Yes, it is. And it will be synchronized with the train. They'll all be functioning together and communicating. And a lot of the advantages of this, not only will the signals communicate with each other, but we will also be able to remotely communicate with the signals. So when we get a call, like today, we're receiving a lot of calls, Route 309. Some of you may be stuck in some traffic at Broad and Walnut. PennDOT's working on their system that's going to integrate and synchronize all the signals along 309, which was having some complications in the last few mornings, which we heard from many residents about. If something like that would happen on Cowpath, we would get a call. We would simply be able to just reach out to our traffic consultants, and they would remotely be able to go in and fix the situation from their office rather than going out to the site. It's going to be a game changer when it comes to this corridor.
Great. All right, anything else, Vice President Hughes?
No, just if we get the grant for Cowpath and Avila, it'll make it even that much better.
Hope we have good news soon to announce, for sure.
All right, Parks and Recreation Committee, Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, President Zipfel. Do you want to cover?
All right, I'll take the 2 items before Commissioner Thomas's report. With all the fun stuff, I'll take care of the housekeeping items. The first one is we obviously all were involved in the Clemens Park Master Site Plan. This is another housekeeping item. A resolution is required in order to close out the grant in order for the township to be reimbursed the $23,000 that we were awarded back in 2016 as well. So 2 weeks from now at the regular meeting, the board will see a resolution drafted just stating that the project has been completed. We do have the plans. We had the consultant, Peter Simoni, at one of our meetings a few months ago that presented the final plan. All of the commissioners will be getting a nice printout of the plan. It'll be posted on the website for everyone to see. This is essentially just saying that the project's complete and then we get our money back per the grant. Just a reminder too, total project cost for the master plan was $46,000. Township received $23,000 through a grant. Township received $23,000 match from Clemens Food Group, who also donated the land as well. So there was no township taxpayer money out of pocket for this planning process. So tonight, no action, 2 weeks resolution to approve closing out this grant. The next item is regarding the Fricks Trail, which we've talked about a few times in this room. The stepping stones have been constructed and they are in. Just to give a quick overview of where this is in the township, right off of Line Lexington, the Fricks Trail, we have a large trail extension that we're going to be working on throughout this year, but one of the portions was how do you get over the west branch of the Neshaminy there, and we came up with, over the years, a solution to install stepping stones. And here's a picture of what exists out there today. You can see the Fricks Meeting House in the background. It's been a very successful project. Obviously, the weather's just beautiful now for a nice stroll outside, and so we haven't had much feedback, but project went well. Total cost $19,700, which in 2 weeks I'll ask the board to approve the invoice. Again, it's been budgeted for years, but like we will talk about a few other purchases tonight, it's an auditor requirement for large purchases like this to just be placed outside of our list of bills for the board and the community to see what the local government is up to. So this is another picture, and we did have a special local celebrity visit the Stones the other day, as you can see walking on there, who gave a nice testimonial and said they are working out very well. So I think he made it across safely, from what I understand. So the project's complete. Township received a grant, which I slid by there. I was too excited about the local celebrity sighting. 19.7, the grant from PICO offset that for $10,000, which we received several years ago, and now we can finally use those funds toward this. But again, this is just one portion of this trail that we'll be working on a lot this year and hopefully completing in 2018. But this will give people access to the Fricks Meeting House, which Fricks Meeting House is very excited to have the public component to this. They welcome the residents in the community to walk over the steps and come onto their property and look around, and it's a really unique site here in Hatfield that is somewhat of a hidden gem. So hopefully now with a little easier access, people can go and visit and see the historic location here in Hatfield.
Did the celebrity dip his toe in the water to prepare for the polar plunge?
Well, actually, we jumped in.
You jumped in? We don't have any pictures of that, though, do we?
I'm saving that for next meeting. I gotta pace myself here. Commissioner Thomas, that's all I have for my 2 items.
So the winter may cause most of us to hibernate due to the cold weather, but it does not keep our Parks and Recreation Board or staff indoors. So we have our Fire and Ice Festival coming up on Saturday, January 20th. It's at the Hatfield Aquatic Center, and it's going to be a fun-filled winter festival. The event runs from 2 to 5 p.m. Registration forms are available online or at the administration building for the polar plunge, for those of you who would like to dip your toe into the lap pool. All proceeds from this go to charity. You can register individually or as a team to jump into the icy waters of our Aquatic Center lap pool. Participants can also dress in costumes for a chance to win our first annual Polar Plunge costume contest. So let your creativity flow.
Any ideas, Bob?
Trying to figure out which one you...
If cold water isn't
the
your
same
thing,
way.
then you can register to participate in our chili or soup cook-off event. Registration is available online or here at the administration building. Spaces are limited for that, and they are filling up, but I think we do have a few left. Other activities will include music, ice sculptures, winter-themed games, s'mores, cider, and more. So I hope that you will brave the cold temperatures and come out and check out our winter festival called Fire and Ice. We will have a big bonfire as well. So, our Get Fit series continues. We have the wake-up call Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 a.m. to 6:45. That starts for the winter classes January 22nd and runs through February 28th. That will be in the community room here in the Township building. Residents are $55, non-residents $70. If early morning is not your thing, there's the after-work hustle. You can do that Mondays and Thursdays from 6:15 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that also starts on January 22nd and runs through March 1st. That will also be here in the community room. Residents 55, non-residents 70. We have yogas on Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 7:45, starting January 25th and running through March 1st. Also here in the community room, that will only be $30 for residents and $45 for non-residents. We have Zumba on Tuesdays, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., starting January 23rd, running through February 27th. There will be a free trial class for any of you who would like to come out and check out Zumba. That is also residents $30 and non-residents $45. We have one called Fuel. I'm not sure what that one is. Yeah, on Mondays at 7 o'clock from starting January 22nd through March 5th. That is $119 for a six-week program with 2-week detox, meal planning tutorials, coordinate exercise programs into your routine, certified nutrition consultant, and a life coach. You can register for all of those at hatfieldrec.com. We continue to partner with XL Sports to offer pickleball. Next session runs, she's got from 11:27 to 1:26, so that one's going to be finishing up. I imagine we'll have another one after that. But that's Mondays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 11:30, and Wednesdays 1 to 3. And that's at XL Sports over in the industrial park. That is $10 for resident and $15 for non-resident. You can register at hatfieldrec.com. And then you want to make sure that if you do register, you stop by the Township building to pick up your pickleball cards, because cards will be checked upon entrance at the activity. We've got a couple bus trips coming up. We've got Wicked on Broadway, Saturday, February 17th in New York City. It's $149 per person. It includes bus transportation and the show ticket. We also have School of Rock on Broadway. That is also on Saturday, February 17th in New York City. Also $149 per person, including bus transportation and show ticket. And you can register for that also at hatfieldrec.com. We have discount ski tickets throughout the winter season. You can purchase the tickets at the administrative building here during normal business hours, and there's a complete list of ski resorts on the Township website. We are also taking online registration for season passes to the Aquatic Center. I know we don't want to think about that right now because dipping into the pool is a little chilly. So for full list of prices and available discount rates, you can check the website, hatfieldtownship.org. And be sure to read all season pass information listed on the website. Hatfield Summer Rec Camp information is now available on the website. And it will begin, registration for the program will actually begin the end of January, early February. So keep your eye on that website for registration updates. And be sure to review the 2018 Camp Handbook for all rules, regulations, and camp policies.
It's January, and that's fantastic. Thank you. That's a busy community. That's great to hear. All right. Anything else under Parks and Rec? Okay. We're going to jump into public safety. We have 2 items. Aaron, I think you're going to walk us through both of these.
Sure. Just briefly, thank you, Mr. President. The first item is regarding the hiring of a police officer, which we've discussed several times in this room, and the budget includes enough for 2 police officers. Civil Service Commission, the Hatfield Civil Service Commission went through its required process and has an eligibility list that has been certified. And in 2 weeks, the commissioners will have in the packet that list and with a recommendation to offer a conditional employment to one of those eligible candidates who actually turned out to be the #1 person on the list. And then in roughly 2 months, we will be in a position to offer the second position of conditional employment. Once receive this conditional offer, then they have to go through a series of tests as well to make sure they qualify. And then we will have them back in this room for the swearing in and the ceremonial, the ceremony that we've done now several times. So 2 officers over the next several months, 2 weeks from tonight, 1, and then roughly February and March, we will have another one for the board to consider. Second item is a housekeeping item that we do often in the early months of the year. All of these purchases are already approved in the budget, but like I've said several times, the auditor likes to see them set aside from the list of bills and then approved on its own. So in 2 weeks, included in the packet, we have details of the 2 vehicles which have been approved for the police department to buy. As you'll see, the expense for them, both of them combined, is roughly $60,000 for a sedan and for an SUV, and we've budgeted $90,000. The vehicles themselves are roughly the $60,000, and then another $30,000 to outfit both of them with the necessary equipment in order for the police officers to operate. So 2 weeks, we'll have this same invoice for ultimate approval. But again, like I've said, it's been preliminary approved, and the vehicles will be ordered and on the streets, hopefully at some point in the next month or 2. Process involved in that. So we'll just go through the same process, and we'll see it on the agenda again in 2 weeks.
All right. That was easy for me. That's all there is for public safety. Finance Committee, Commissioner Andrus.
Hello, everyone. Brief report. 2017 preliminary numbers look very good for Hatfield Township. Overall, the revenue was up, was $800,000 more than budgeted. Most had attributed to real estate transfer tax and an increase in earned income tax, which both are excellent signs for our local economy. Overall, the expenses came in $400,000 less than the $9.9 million that was budgeted for 2017. Most of those savings came from a mild winter. That's last year's winter, not this year's winter. And some staffing turnover that we had in the organization. These numbers won't be official until we have the audit, which will be completed next year. We're hoping that 2018 is as good as.
Great, sounds good. All right, we're going to move on to the Township Manager's Report. Aaron, if you could walk us through that.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just, I have one brief piece of good news that I would like to share with the community to make you feel a little bit better about your local government operation here. The township has insurance provided by a trust, which there are several municipalities that are members. We're in 3 separate trusts. We're in a healthcare trust, we're in a property and liability trust, and we're in a workers' comp trust. Recently, at its annual meeting, Hatfield was recognized as one of the top 25 members of this trust. Hatfield Township had among the lowest of 6 municipalities out of 58 in 2016 regarding claims for property and liability. So we're not getting sued, and we're not breaking things, or other people aren't breaking things. So a good sign, a good indication, and truly all the credit for this has to go to the chief. Truthfully, and, I wasn't even joking this time, Chief. To Ashley, John Wolf, Dave Bernhauser, all the department heads who do a really good job managing their staff and managing our infrastructure and working together with the community. A lot of this is out of our control. Certain accidents can occur that affect our property, but thankfully 2016 was a really good year. And ultimately the winners are the taxpayers, because the less amount of claims that we have, the premium increases aren't as significant, and less taxpayer money to pay for the insurances that we must have as a municipality. So good news for Hatfield and the other 5 that were recognized at our annual insurance meeting last month. So just wanted to share that with the commissioners.
I think the township manager deserves some credit for that also, making sure the staff follows safe, practices and stuff. So.
Agreed. Well done.
Did it. Thank you.
All right, anything else under Township
Go ahead,
Manager's Report?
Mr. President.
All right,
That's it for this
Mr.
month.
Solicitor.
I would just like to remind everyone that the #1 ranked Villanova Wildcats are playing tonight. So, got nothing to watch tonight. Watch the #1 ranked Villanova Wildcats.
I'm
We
gonna
we already appointed our solicitor for next year.
I'm going to have
Too
to
early
echo
to start
that.
working on next year.
Not only am I going to echo that, I'm wondering why it's not on the agenda. Well, it'll be on next
Watching
week.
it.
Next week, for sure. And we'll have a score there, too. All right, any citizens' comments? But no smart aleck comments about Villanova. The only restriction we have this evening. All right, seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Rogers. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thanks for coming out, folks.